You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Hey everybody, it's time once again for the Code Rad Show. And this week we are discussing part 2 of Dean Koontz' Soul Survivor, Fox miniseries adaptation of the novel. First, of course, we got to talk about the books. Interplanet Volume 1 available at Fund My Comic, Volume 2 on the way. And Tales of Conspiracy and Madness, a collection of short stories of cosmic horror. You can get that at Amazon. All right. So, Dean Koontz wrote a book, I think it was in 1997, called Soul Survivor, about a man who in this adaptation is played by Billy Zane. Character's name is John Carpenter. He loses his wife and daughter in a plane crash. And turns out the plane crash is quite suspicious. John, while visiting his family's graves, meets this woman named Rose Tucker, played by Gloria Rubin. After she shows up in the cemetery and makes some cryptic announcements to John, she disappears and does not appear in the first episode much after that. But she figures heavily in part 2. And Gloria Rubin, I think, is most famous for ER. And just perusing her IMDb credits, I noticed that she was also in the 2022 remake of Firestarter. And this movie, Soul Survivor, is connected to Firestarter thematically and narratively. And of course, we have John McGinley, who plays CIA officer Victor Yates, very evil and sadistic. And there on the top of the picture, the top of the slide, there is a picture of the plane crash. There are some tantalizing hints that John Carpenter's wife and daughter may have survived the plane crash, but don't get your hopes up. So, the thing about Soul Survivor is that the episode 1 is a slow burn. I remember reading the book and thinking it was an absolute page turner. Loved it as a kind of book that you think about when you're at school or work. You want to go home and keep reading it. But it did not translate that well to the small screen. It gets more exciting in part 2, though. This is where the conspiracy gets unraveled. Here is Rose going to her job. She works. This is a flashback. This is the scene where she explains to John what's up. And here she is going to her job at the Quatermass Institute. I think it's safe to say that's a nod to Quatermass, which is a thing I have been aware of most of my life. And I've never seen any of the movies or TV shows. I need to rectify that. But Rose goes to work in these laboratories where they create superpowered kids, as you can see right here. And I love, this subgenre of kids in a laboratory being experimented on to have, by evil government agents to make them into super spies or assassins, which is exactly what we have going on here. And another, feature is these kids are named by numbers. This kid is 4711. These kids are all known by numbers, which, of course, reminds me a bit of Stranger Things. Here is 8958. Remember that one. He's one of the important ones. I mean, you can kind of tell. He's an innocent kid, of course, but he's twisted by the evil scientists. Rose Tucker is a nice woman who was in this for helping humanity doing something good. But of course, the evil government wrecks that. That kid, 8958, as you can see, is has the ability of remote viewing, something that we know the CIA has experimented on quite a bit over the years. And so here you see the details of one of 8958's missions. What he does is he goes and possesses people and does whatever he wants with them. Since being what it is in Soul Survivor, he kills people. Perfect assassin. 8958 gets out of control. So the laboratory gets stormed by these armed soldiers. Very tricky when a kid can just hop in anyone's brain and control your actions. Very tricky, but they manage to get him with a tranquilizer dart. And they set up all sorts of fail safes, strap him to a table, connected to all kinds of tranquilizers. You always have several guards on duty. They're also monitoring his brain waves. Any kind of psychic activity starts going on, unauthorized. Looks like he might be trying to jump into one of the laboratory workers or anyone he's not supposed to be doing, not supposed to be taking over, possessing. They can put him to sleep. He's a very valuable assassin. So they got to keep him alive, as dangerous as he is. And they came up with this very convincing, ornate way to keep him under control. So, and I don't want to give away too much more of the plot. That's the best part of the movie, in my opinion, where they reveal what is going on, what happened, what made the plane crash, what killed John Carpenter's wife and kids, what is Rose on the run from, what's the little girl with her doing, and of course, Stranger Things. We all know that 11 escaped from a lab, and we get to see some scenes of the lab in season 4 of Stranger Things. And that was undoubtedly my favorite part of season 4. But unfortunately, there was so much going on in season 4 with 2.5-hour episodes. And I don't even know if I want to watch season 5 of Stranger Things. Had they just done a season, there's so much potential for that. The kids with their superpowers, their connections to the occult and other worlds. You have the different levels. You've got the doctors who are who are experimenting on the kids. Then you have the people above the doctors, the military, the intelligence. A lot of great stuff to mine there for a story. But that was only a small part of Stranger Things, and they threw too much in. And of course, I think Firestarter, well known as a story about a government experimenting on kids with psychic abilities. I did a little bit of research, and I see that there's another Stephen King movie, maybe in pre-production. I think it was called The Institute, that has a similar theme. So I will be looking out for that. If you know of any movies like this, please let me know. Movies, TV shows, books, very interested. Don't know why. I enjoy that sort of material. And as I mentioned, the actress who plays Rose Tucker was also in the Firestarter remake. And I'm not sure why I put the slide here. Cool scene of the destruction of the airplane. As I talked about quite a bit in the first episode of this discussion, Soul Survivor really feels like Fox was trying to capitalize on the popularity of the X-Files. And it seems to me that maybe Dean Koontz wrote these books. There was Dark Rivers of the Heart, which I happen to have right here. I think this was his template. Great techno thriller conspiracy. And then he also came out with Soul Survivor, Seize the Night, and another one. I won't try too hard to think of it. But cool things about mass government conspiracies, the occult, superpowers, sci-fi stuff. I think Dark Rivers of the Heart was mostly just science fiction stuff. This soul survivor got more into occult, although, you know, you could say telekinetic powers are just science fiction. So let me know. Do you know of any other material like this that is interesting? I will be back soon. I promise. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Good.